Bird sustained a fractured eye orbiter that again kept him on the floor for minutes. He went on to the locker room for treatment, came back out like he had done 6 weeks.
He played with a broke eye? Oh my God. What's good with y'all boys, man? Real Game Official, man. We back with another lit banger, man. Y'all been spamming this video, man, for weeks and weeks and weeks, man. Shout out Dom 2K. I think I reacted to some of his videos before. He got bangers. Let me make sure this ain't gonna get no claim. It shouldn't. But we finna get into this video. 4 crazy stories that prove Larry Bird is the toughest player in NBA history. So let's get into it. We know how tough Bird is. Y'all know how much respect I got for Bird. And y'all know he in my top 10, top 5 all time.
We've all heard the stories about Kobe Bryant, and most of us have actually seen with our own eyes how incredibly tough the guy was. Trying to play on a freshly sprained ankle to wheel the Lakers to the playoffs, winning the championship with a fractured finger, he's got a great case for being the toughest player in NBA history. But then there's Larry Bird, and many people don't know it, but he might have been equally as tough, if not tougher than Kobe Bryant when it came to pain tolerance. Bird was such a warrior that...
Is he? I think Kobe done popped his finger back in when he dislocated it when a torn Achilles walked to the free throw line. But Bird played with a bad back. It's probably even, bro. It's probably even. What y'all think in the comment section? For me, it's 50-50. I feel like they both equally tough. Y'all let me know though.
He often didn't even like to let the team staff know he was hurt. That is until later in his career when his back had deteriorated to an unbearable point. And because Bird was such a warrior, today I want to tell you guys 4 crazy stories about Larry Bird's insane level of toughness. What's up NBA fans, Dom 2K on the mic, and you've probably seen the shots of Larry Bird torturing himself later in his career when his back was forcing him into retirement, but you might not know what allowed him to deal with that pain in the first place. It turns out Larry was dealing with physical ailments even before he entered the league. Before he'd ever played a game with the Celtics, he actually had his knuckle shattered by a baseball that put his professional career in jeopardy. But because he's Larry Bird and Larry Bird is from a different planet, he was able to put together a top 10 NBA career despite not ever having the same shooting touch before he shattered his knuckle. Wrap your mind around that for a second. Larry Bird accomplished everything he did in his career, and he said out of his own mouth that he never had the same feel for the basketball after the knuckle injury. But as it turns out,
I heard about it on the last video reacted to with Bird, like him messing up his finger, and it was messed up his whole career. But I didn't know it was from what he just said just happened. He shattered it. I didn't know that from like the bat, whatever he just said. Let me say what he said.
A career despite not ever having the same shooting touch before he shattered his knuckle. Wrap your mind around that for a second. Larry Bird accomplished everything he did in his career, and he said out of his own mouth that he never had the same feel for the basketball after the knuckle injury. But as it turns out, that's just an appetizer compared to what he'd endured throughout his career. Let's jump into it. Number 4. Hole in the face.
Oh, I remember.
I figured we'd start off with something crazy we've seen before. Remember when Russell Westbrook fell down after his free throw and got a hole kicked in his jaw? Yeah, that left a lot of us wondering if Westbrook was actually Android a human, because he got up, moved his mouth around a little bit, and finished up what was left of the game. Luckily for him, that was only about 1 second of game time. However, it turns out that 33 years earlier, Larry Bird actually had already accomplished this superhuman feat, and surprisingly, he did Westbrook one better. I originally thought there wasn't footage of this on YouTube, but I'm so thankful there was, because you need to witness how brutal this was. In a 1982 game against the Milwaukee Bucks, Larry Bird drove left to the basket and tried to make in a routine jump shot. It clanked off the rim, Bird went up to rebound his own miss, and was violently elbowed by power forward Harvey Catchings. When Westbrook's injury was an accident by his own teammate that didn't even look too bad initially, it's a bit difficult to look at this footage and say it wasn't on purpose, and you actually cringe a bit when you see how hard the shot was. The elbow practically knocked Bird out and left him lying on the floor for several minutes as he looked seriously injured. From what I can tell in the tape, the injury appeared to happen before the end of the 3rd quarter, because Larry Bird went back to the locker room and came back out before the period had ended. In the 4th quarter, playing with what we now know was a fractured zygotic arch, Bird would score 8 more points, including a poster dunk, 2 assists, adding some defense and hustle plays, as he was even shoved out of bounds during one of the possessions.
Yeah, he's a dog. Players today's game you putting them on a stretcher, bro. Players today, bro, you gonna have to carry them out. Bird a tough dude though. He one of the toughest dudes out here, bro.
Efforts led the Celtics to a narrow win as he finished with 16 points, meaning he scored half of them with a fractured arch in crunch time. And even though we can't see it on the
that's how bad it probably is. I never even heard of that. Fractured arch crunch. What is that?
In the 80s footage, Bird's jaw was depressed inward the same
way
way
in your jaw
was.
Okay, it's under your jaw. So that's tough. You damn near you playing with a sprain, or it's damn near sprained jaw, like, or broke jaw. Something in your jaw broke. It's crazy.
After Larry left his heart on the floor for his team, he was sent to the hospital where doctors had to drill a hole into the side of his face and insert a medical tool to pop his zygotic arch back out. If social media had been around with clear footage back in these days,
nah, I just answered my question, bro, because I was like, who y'all think? Nah, Bird had to be a little bit tougher than Kobe. Your jaw, but I think Kobe would have probably played through it too, though. Knowing Kobe would have played through it too, though. That's hard, bro, because two of these niggas is like, they got that dog mentality for real. Do y'all think Kobe would have played through that? I think Kobe would have, depending on the game. I think he would have played through that too, though.
This performance would probably be a lot more famous. We were shocked to see Westbrook standing on his own with a hole in his face. Imagine watching Larry Bird play an entire extra quarter while leading his team to the win. Number 3, just give me a beer. It's understandable that Larry dealt with injuries like back problems and broken bones in the face. Those things just tend to happen when you're crashing into the floor and whatnot. But when Larry Bird had a toe infection, it really seemed like somebody was just testing how much he could take before he finally sat out a game. In the year 1985, Bird reportedly had Number 2, double vision. A lot of people can't even shoot when there's just one basket sitting still, so imagine trying to play in a professional game when you fractured your eye orbiter and you're seeing 2 baskets. Now the injury itself sounds pretty comparable to what Derrick Rose had not too long ago, the difference here being that Rose got hurt before the season and was able to get his problems to a manageable point before playing in a real game. Bird, however, would not be so lucky. In a 1988 game against the Cavaliers, Bird was on fire, having scored 13 points in the first quarter, but when he spun away from Craig Elo with a clear lane to the basket, Del Curry of all people would rotate and hit Bird with a violent elbow to the side of his face. Kind of ironic that before Del was raising the greatest shooter of all time, he was apparently trying to take out the best one of his generation. Anyways, Bird sustained a fractured eye orbiter that again kept him on the floor for minutes. He went on to the locker room for treatment, came back out like he had done 6 years.
He played with a broke eye? Oh my god. Oh my god. He really one of the greatest, bro. He really one of the greatest, bro. On a broke eye, you play same game?
Years earlier, only this time he would score 18 more points to put the finishing touches on a 31-point game that included 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals on 11 of 20 shooting. But the stats weren't even the most impressive part. According to Larry, he played the rest of this game with double vision, and as he described it, he saw 2 baskets for the rest of the game, leaving him to guess which one he had to shoot at. But that's not the best part either. Not only did he light Cleveland up, but we know double vision doesn't go away after one game. As we've already established, if there was any other option than to sit a game out, that's what Bird was gonna do. He ended up playing 4 more games with goggles that I'm not even sure anybody really knew he wore, and in those games, he scored 36, 30, 28, and 34 points. In typical Larry Bird fashion, he shot a staggering 55% from the field with that. Violent elbow, fractured eye orbiter, goggles, elite scoring, hitting on over half of his field goal attempts. Again, he's Larry Bird, and Larry Bird is from another planet. Just to add some gore to the story, apparently after the Cleveland game where he initially broke the orbiter, he noticed his nose bleeding after the game. He went to blow it and his eye bulged out a bit. Just a typical day in the life of Larry Bird, I guess. Number 1, Celtic pride.
Ignite the fairways.
With Fireball.
Jiminy Cricket, you don't even have a club in your hand.
You hear all this talk about Celtic pride anytime we speak about their history, and Larry Bird contributed in big part to that as his career was wrapping up. Possibly the most famous scene from the ending of his career is the one we've all seen. Larry was diving for a loose ball, goes crashing to the floor as his head bangs against it violently, and he just lays there as if his body couldn't take it anymore. Truth be told, it really couldn't. Bird was dealing with insane back issues by this point in his career, and it was through sheer determination that he was even playing by this point. However, the story behind this scene is that not only was Bird's back locking up on him, but the shot he took to the head actually knocked him unconscious for a second and left him with a concussion that threatened to keep him out of the rest of an elimination Game 5 against the Pacers. By this point, Larry was 34 years old and had missed 22 games throughout the season, and his best days had been stripped from him by an ever-deteriorating back. He sat in the locker room debating whether to go back into the game as Boston had lost their edge without him, and most of the way through the third quarter, the advantage was with the Pacers. When Larry asked the doctor for advice, he said he should be done for the day, but by this point, we all know Larry just wasn't built like that. He was still breathing, so he went back into the game with the Celtics down by 3, while they were being cracked over the head by Chuck Persons, I might add. With Bird back in the game, Boston would go on a ridiculous 33-14 run and went on to win the game by 3 points, sending the Pacers home for the playoffs. Bird finished with 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists while shooting 63% from the field. But again, that's not the most shocking part of the story. According to teammates like Robert Parrish, when Bird hit the floor, they weren't sure he was ever going to play again. Remember that this happened at the end of Bird's career, and after back surgeries and having to lay in a fiberglass brace for hours just to be well enough to play, some thought that the fall he took meant the end of his career. And it probably would have been if Larry Bird was from Earth, but instead he went out and put up one of the most memorable playoff performances of all time, the kind of performance that really makes you sad that his career was really cut short by injury. So there you have it. These were 4 crazy stories that prove Larry Bird was likely the toughest player of all time. The crazy part about it, after reading the book he wrote with Magic Johnson and researching a little bit, I could have easily told 10 or more. The truth that people don't really talk about in terms of Larry is that despite his amazing career, it was truly only a shell of what he could have been. As early as 1985, only 6 years into Larry Bird's career, he was already experiencing back issues that resulted from him doing concrete work around his house that he could have paid someone else to do. But that's just who Larry was, an incredibly hard worker that prided himself on being the same type of soldier his father was.
It didn't matter if he was
Larry cherishes the story about his father when he came home one day from work and had a busted ankle. The next day, the ankle was so bad that Larry had to help him put the shoe on, and his father went right back to work. It was the kind of example that led Larry to play through the ridiculous pain he began to experience really only a short way into his career. Bird played a total of 13 of the most memorable seasons any NBA player could produce, but imagine one of our modern stars only lasting 13 years. LeBron is already on his 14th campaign, Durant is already on his 10th, but what if those guys only played 13
like that?
Though?
He don't care, they
That's
squabbling.
Just the perspective of what a flash Bird's career really was. And we're lucky that for that short amount of time, he had the high pain tolerance that he did, because if he was actually human and sat out those games that anybody else would have sat out, we would have likely seen even less of him. So in conclusion, I think Bird is proof that there is life outside of Earth.
Man, that's a dirty shot. Y'all know his back bad.
And we really aren't alone. Somewhere out there is the planet Larry Bird came from, where there's extraterrestrial life that apparently doesn't feel any type of pain. Shatter their face, knock them out, just give them a few minutes and they're right back on their feet ready to play. And if they're generous enough, maybe they're going to send another one like Larry to Earth to play in the NBA in the future. But if that doesn't happen, I'm very happy that Larry Bird was a part of NBA history. So I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you learned something. Leave your favorite Larry Bird story in the comment section because I'm pretty sure you guys have some. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell.
Man, that was a banger vid. Shout out Dom 2K, man. Y'all go mess with him, go sub to him. Yeah, Bird was a dog. Bird was, obviously he was a dog, but he was tough. He had that grit. He played with that grit, bro. And grit and honor, and he wanted you to respect him for real. He ain't care how hurt he got in the game, bro. He ain't care what happened. He broke his jaw, his eye broke. Man, he playing on a bad back, a bad finger, bad Achilles, man. This man, bro, he top 5, top 10. And there's no debate about it. You can't really debate nobody if he's in your top 5 or top 2. Like, Bird can be in any order, bro, because he was just like that, bro. He was just like that, bro. That's how much respect I got for him and the other people. And y'all do too. But to the next video, I'm out, y'all.